Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. This is our second installment of Every Day is Black Mental Health Day. So today we are talking about relationships, love, attachment, and I want to start with just a little reflection. We're kind of just going to let the conversation go as it goes. So, y'all, when you hear the word attachment, what comes up for you? Like for me, I'm sorry, let y'all think because I was kind of out there. For me, like attachment really just means like able to um how we're able to connect with others, like connect within our relationships, whether it's romantic, whether it's friendships, and things like that. But I also think that it can be a broader scope. Like it doesn't have to be just like linear within your thoughts of attachment because being social workers and LPCs in the helping field, we kind of think of attachment as really a theory, and that's kind of just where it goes. But there's so much more to attachment styles, and how people respond.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said connection. It is a much broader scope, but I think connection for me is one of the one words that comes up for that. Belonging is another one.
Is it one word we're looking for?
I thought it was one word, but then she kind of went on.
I
I
did.
don't know. I don't know.
I
You might have
no,
said
I
one
think
word.
I
'Cause
said what I think I well, I thought I said what comes up for you when you hear
yeah,
the word
yeah.
attachment.
When I think of attachment, I think of like, I guess just childhood, right? I feel like
Mhm.
childhood is where we developed that at, and then I think of it in two parts. I think of like childhood of like developing it, and then I think of like adulthood of like how we deal with different relationships now based on our attachment from our childhood.
Yeah,
Yeah. I get I guess I think about similar things. I think from a therapeutic lens, I think of like explanation. Like why are you
Mm,
connected or why are you not connected or attached or not attached. Um but I feel like that's also become a little bit of a buzzword.
yeah,
Um but yeah, mostly just like why I guess like a question that comes up for me when I hear the word attachment. Also pathologized out in the same breath. Like we pathologize a lot of things to try to make sense of it when really in reality, can't we just talk about it? Like why is it got to be connected to like a diagnosis?
that's a good point. And I don't think like people really think about when it comes to therapy and like the role that we have, especially when you're using insurance and things like that, having to diagnose people in order to get those services paid for. It would be nice to be able to use insurance or use that resource without having to have the pressure of being labeled in that way,
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure. So, what would you guys say? And we won't go too much into attachment styles or anything like that, but I'm just curious, what would y'all say y'all attachment styles is?
I have no idea.
she asking too much personal stuff. We trying to remain professional. She want. She, she
She's
I
trying to
like,
mean,
do therapy for real.
like we said last month, we gonna be real about this.
hey,
We did say that.
We did say that.
yes, yes.
My wife
Listen,
tells me I have a secure attachment, so I take that.
okay. If that's coming from
I
your
feel
wife,
like you give
that's
I'm
good.
just
secure
saying.
attachment.
For sure.
That's
Yeah,
what she
I can
tells
see
me, so
that.
I take it. Yeah.
I think it's is we have to recognize that you can be secure in one area and insecure in
Yeah.
another. depending on who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And that's where those boundaries kind of come in, because if you don't put proper boundaries in place, then you allow people into your life that pull you out of character, and that can have you operating in a very dysfunctional way. You'd be like, I thought the old me was gone, but with this person, they're pulling out all these negative things about me that I thought was diminished. And here I am raising my voice in Dylan's parking lot.
Not Dillard's. Got a
Mm.
story to tell?
I made that up. I'm usually pretty chill, but it'd probably be Costco because they don't know. It'd probably be Costco. It'd probably be Costco. They don't be acting right.
Ah, that's hilarious.
Costco's crazy.
Yeah.
Ah,
But that's
Um,
for me, that's a big thing.
yeah, I agree. I think that any given day I could be switching in between. It depends on where I'm at, what I'm doing, who's there. It depends. So sometimes I'm
Who all gonna
secure.
be there?
Right, exactly. So who we talking about? So sometimes I'm secure, sometimes I'm very much avoidant in reality. There's some things that I be avoiding, but you know, it kind of just depends. It depends. But when did you find out or become aware of what your attachment was,
Mm.
or
Yesterday.
like those patterns?
Not yesterday.
Just kidding. Probably I think probably in my 30s, like my early 30s, is probably when I realized it.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like I really became an adult.
I feel like everything before 29 is a wash. I remember turning 29, and I feel like
Facts.
at that point it's like I don't know, stuff started changing, and ever since 29, as I go up, it's like I just understand more about myself, about the world, just about
Yeah.
everything. So 20, 29 and under, yeah, we just start fresh at 29.
Yeah.
You said scratch it all, huh? Just,
Yeah, because
These are like a trial run.
it's honestly like just me wandering through the world, like trying to get an understanding of everything, trying to figure stuff out. And then like
that's
after that, for whatever reason, it just clicked, and now it's like I got a good grip on this thing.
yeah.
I also think
Yeah.
too that has to do with like experiences. So like
Yeah.
think about how many people have never left your hometown
Mm.
versus
Hmm.
you and like being exposed to other things, which I think probably also has to do with like your attachment style changing, just kind of understanding the world as a reality and not what you think it is or what people have told you it is. But like, I just feel like no matter when you figure it out, you have to think about it. Like you have to realize, kind of like Terry was saying, which people bring out like maybe some of the more like negative attachment style behaviors. Well, everything out of it, out of secure.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I just don't think like these aren't words that people use a lot when, especially in the Black community. Like, you don't hear a lot of people talking about secure attachment or, whatever. We kind of just know like, oh, I don't mess with so and so no more. But
Hmm.
Yeah. I think it's important for Dr. T to explain to our viewers
Yeah.
because I think because it's so normalized between us, just in professional environments, that we just kind of overlook that, like what you just said, this isn't talked about in many communities.
Sure.
And I think some of our viewers, don't understand how this actually affects how they see their relationships. It affects the lens in which they see their relationships, whether personal,
Hmm.
intimate relationships, or even just friendships. How
Yeah.
much of that? So, if you could shed some light on it for them.
For sure. So attachments are like that idea is growing. So there's kind of like a spectrum now, but the four main is secure attachment, kind of as most of us were saying that we toggle in between. That's when you, as the individual, feel more secure in your attachment. You're comfortable with intimacy, independence. You're able to trust others, communicate effectively without um, a lot of conflict. You're able to manage that conflict constructively. Um, and then the second one is anxious or preoccupied attachment. This is where you see a lot of anxiousness, craving closeness, like a lot of fearful of being abandoned. So those are those clingy people that you hear about so often. They need the constant reassurance. They, they're very emotional in how they respond to others in relationship. And then that third is avoidant. And so these are those highly independent people. Um, they're self sufficient. They appear to be emotionally distant sometimes. Sometimes they may struggle with intimacy and avoid vulnerability with others. And so it's those people who are, uh-oh, um, it's those people who are,
Avoidant.
yes,
She
they
just
avoid.
avoid us. She
I was
just
like, what happened?
she got avoided on us.
Right. She just dipped out. She was like, let me give you an example.
Oh. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Hopefully the recording got it. But and then disorganized is those who have anxious and avoidant styles together. So they desire closeness, but they fear it at the same time. It's that push pull type relationships that we hear about often as well. So it's like, oh, I want you here, but don't call me, or like, I don't really want you. Like the people that block somebody every day, like they block their boyfriend every week. Those are those disorganized attachment styles.
And that's one of the confusing ones.
I want, because we're kind of talking about like relationships, right? So just as you're going through these, and I'm just wondering if people thinking, because this is what I was thinking. What would be, and this is just for everybody, what would be red flags? What would you feel like is a red flag?
Oh, that's a great one.
Blocking your boyfriend every day.
Yeah, because I feel like people walk right past those flags, like they just step over them.
Well, I think it depends on where they're at. If they're not in a good place and they're not secure and where they're at, they may be also contributing to some of the dysfunction right there. So they may be looking for red flags, and they're the walking red flag.
True.
I wish I had a red flag.
Viewers right there.
For sure, like the lack of accountability, right? Like not being able to see that you were wrong in a situation. Also, not being able to trust, right? So if you're with somebody, or if you're the one that's constantly accusing your partner of doing something without any kind of reason, right? Because a lot of people have trust issues going into relationships, and that partner didn't do anything to deserve the mistrust. So I would say that's a red flag as well. Not being able to handle conflict, right? So a lot of us don't handle things the right way all the time, but if that's more often than not, that conflict turns into a scream match or like a consistent argument, raising your voice, things like that. We should be able to disagree without there being dysregulation or violence. Let's not be violent.
But I think too, like Jonathan, though, like red flags, I think are important, but like Terry was saying, you have to know your own red flags first to notice them in other people. But I think that starts with emotional intelligence. Like, are you aware of how you're feeling about, relationships as a whole? Do you trust other people for real? Because if you don't, that's a red flag to me. Like if you have trust issues, that's a red flag. Because
Mhm.
that means if you don't trust people in general, how is somebody supposed to expect you to be a good partner? Like how are you expected to carry out your relationship duties not trusting the world,
Mm-hmm.
yes, as a whole? But like I think people have to look inward first and really figure out what kind of person am I alone before I try to be a person in a relationship.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like
That's the
that.
hard part, I think.
It is because people don't want to be wrong. They don't want to be the issue. You know, like when that whole like, am I the drama kind of like thing was popular for a while. I was like, dang, am I the drama? But like, you have to really ask yourself that question like, is it
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
And not in a blaming way, just like in a really, like, in a critique. Like, is it me? What am I
Sure.
doing?
I think a lot of people put themselves in environments that affirm whatever they believe, right? So
Yes.
so I think it's hard for them to be able to get the truth about who they really are if they surround themselves with other dysfunctional people. And
Mhm.
so
Yep.
like mindedness, right? So that's why there's a lot of people who really do avoid that space that requires them to have accountability and see themselves, because it does feel like, to their nervous system, it feels like a threat
Yeah.
to have
Absolutely.
to look inward, right? Especially if we're talking about attachment styles, right? So we're talking about if they came from a home where they were highly criticized, um, when you could do no right. My son said something to
Mhm.
me one time. I thought, and this was years back, but it stayed with me, and it made me have to kind of really look at how I was dealing with things. And he said, "Well, all you do is say what's wrong. You don't ever say what's right." And I said, and I had to ask myself. I said, "Is that true?" Right? Because if they go to school for nine hours a day, and I work all day long, and I come in towards the end of the day, and the first thing that I say to them is about their room, or about their shoes on the floor, or about something this, then it would appear that the only thing that I say to them is negative, right? So his perception is true, and so I had to really kind of look at that. So it's just a little piece that I thought was that stayed with me now.
Kids be
Yeah.
just clocking it, don't they?
Thank
You know, you
Clocking it
know,
real hard.
you
Really
said
do.
like critique. I think that's the part. I think it's really hard for people to deal with that, but it's necessary. You can't get better unless someone tells you, what you're doing. That's an issue. So
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but like culturally too, if you think about a like black culture, a
Mm,
kid has to feel safe to say that to a parent.
Mhm.
Because
oh yeah,
when I grew up, it was like, well, you better just pick it up. Like, well, what do you expect? I go to work, I pay the bills.
yeah,
The least you could do is clean up your toys and your shoes off the floor. Like
yeah,
it would have just been a coast over. Like essentially, your kid is telling you something. Like they want you to hear that you're treating them in a way that they, wish you wouldn't.
yeah. You said
Yeah.
something last time I thought was really powerful that I want to bring back up, because you said that we were talking about parenting in some of the black households, and how we were raised from a place of survival, and how um, their when they were younger, and their grandparents and those, they were raised from a place of survival. So it wasn't that you had an opportunity to ask no questions. I need you to do what I need you to do, because this
Yep.
might cost you your life at one point. Going down and being in certain spaces you're not supposed to at certain times. I need you to listen. So we didn't have time to have any dialogue where you would got an understanding of what you need to be, right. So I think that some of that is generational wise, and within our ethnicity, I think that's passed along in the attachment styles and how we kind of deal with each other.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
That
Somebody
actually
somebody just
triggered.
commented that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was curious because as Terry was talking about his experience with his son, how much of what our attachment styles now go back to how we were raised, and
Yeah.
like how their attachment styles were, and what, you know, how they were raised. Kind of like Carissa was saying, how culturally we weren't able to have these conversations with our parents and things like that. But and I feel like with me, it's a little different when it comes to that, because I was in foster care. So I was basically raised by the system plus multiple other people. So it's like
Yep.
dealing with all of them and their things and their what they felt like was right and wrong and things like that. It was different across the board. And
Yeah.
so I'm curious, how did y'all experience that, and how do you see, I don't have any kids, but how do you see that come out in your parenting?
You want
I
Mm.
some?
got I got three daughters, right? Which is kind of fire, right? Kobe had four, so I'm just, one short. But I think for me and growing up, I kind of had free range, right? I could do whatever, right? I didn't really have a lot of rules. I didn't get a lot of whoopings. I didn't come up the traditional how, whatever. My wife, different story, right? But I think, oh no, where'd he go?
Uh-oh.
But I think
Avoid it.
the combination pack of how we've been able to develop and talk to each other based on like how we were raised and try to come with like a better way to raise our children. So I think we kind of line it up,
Mhm.
and I think from my end, it gives them like kind of a space of like let them be free. Like they're not talking back; they're asking questions. Like let them do that. And from her
Right.
space is having a level of discipline, because you don't got to beat your kids' ass to
That
discipline them. It don't go together. You can talk to them and discipline them. So that's what we're trying to do over here.
yeah.
Mhm.
I
I,
ask.
I agree.
My bad, Terry. I mean, I tell you, yeah, I
Where
kept
you
your
go?
phone when you jumped out, but I was just like, all right.
Terry, where'd you go?
I don't know. My internet decided to be avoided. Um,
Mhm.
I'm back
I
though. I'm
might
back.
have to switch devices in a minute. We'll see how that goes. But
Oh,
Uh,
boy,
we
we
gonna
are
Oh
gonna be
boy.
right here.
we gonna
I
keep it.
know.
Keep it going.
But we gonna listen. We are dedicated individuals, and we gonna make it happen through all of the shenanigans that may or may not happen.
Amen. Amen.
I think I think I might have said something like this last time, or I don't know. We be talking a lot as therapists, so I don't remember who I be saying stuff to.
We drop
But
gems. We be dropping gems. We don't just be talking.
facts.
In
I don't know
random
who I
conversations,
dropped
though.
this on, but um, I was talking about how we don't know how to parent, how we weren't parented. Like the guy on TikTok, he said like I'm parenting my kids how I wanted to be parented, but I don't know how to do that because I wasn't parent.
Mm,
So like
That's real.
really trying to figure out my kids don't know what food stamps are.
mhm.
Like I do. Like not, like even things
Yeah.
like that, like having to use a food stamp card versus a credit card at the store.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so like for me, growing up, or probably a lot of millennials, but like growing up anxious attached is normal.
Right.
Like
Right.
I love this person, my parent, but also at any given moment they might whoop me. Like I might do something wrong and I might get whooped. Now, don't get me wrong, I was not beat as a child, but
There's a
we
difference.
whoopings. Like, and sometimes you didn't know what was wrong until it was wrong. And so, of course, there's this like anxious attachment of like, yeah, I really love, my parent, but also there's a line that I can't cross.
Mm.
But
Absolutely.
that line is real close. It's a lot closer than you think. And I think for me and my husband, we're just trying to kind of like Jonathan and your wife, like we're just trying to move that line back further. Like give them room to be, give them room to actually grow into the person they are intended to grow into, and not place all these expectations on them. You know, like this is a crazy example, but like my son, he refuses to wear pants. Like refuses
Outside the house?
inside the house.
Oh.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, as long as, you know, we ain't got company over, now you're to an age where that's not acceptable, sir. You have to put at least some underwear on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for a long time, it was just like, this is family. You're not about to get a whooping for not wearing pants in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
fine. But I think it's just like more of a, how are we instilling anxiety into our kids to not be who they are, essentially? Because your girl was anxious as shit growing up.
Yeah, for sure.
Dropping the word right there.
That's a great point. And it's hard, especially like right now, because of everything that's going on. So it's like now we're trying not to instill it within our kids, but the world is instilling it into them, right? Like just being anxious, being able to walk to places. Like I remember when we were growing up, we can go walk to our friend's house that was around the corner without
Yep.
any issues. And so like being able to do things like that, or like being able to travel without a fear of something happening and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and I'm not saying that there wasn't obviously some kind of scare tactics happening when we were growing up too, but it just feels a little different. And so trying to navigate that as we try to parent our kids differently than how we were parented is interesting for sure.
Yeah. I remember watching my neighbor. We were at a baseball game or something, and they have a little 2-year-old, and this is a side where there's a bunch of kids and they're being rambunctious. They're throwing balls. They're rolling down the hill, and we're sitting there talking, and the 2-year-old decides he's gonna go get up and go do something, and he gets up and just starts walking through all of this chaos, and I'm sitting there watching him. I'm getting anxious, and the neighbor is not even like slightly worried. She's very unbothered by this. She's like, he'll come back. And so he's walking, and I'm seeing kids roll down in front of me. He'll stop. They throwing balls. He picked the ball up. And I'm like, man, like, are you going to go get this kid before he gets hurt? And I just realized that we're totally different places as far as parenting.
Yes.
She's more accepting of allowing him to go explore, even if it means that he'll get knocked down or something. He's going to be okay. And I think that of us, we were not raised with that freedom of being able to explore like that, and we have taken that on in our parenting and even in some of our relationships as well. That's another note, but we have taken that on in our relationships, in our parenting. Like my kids don't go over and spend no night at nobody's house, and you can go over there and go to the party. You can stay to a certain time, and then we're going to come get you.
Yep.
Or you need to be coming back home, right? So not only until, and that's how I was raised, and that's something that I held close to me. And so when my daughters went to college, and then when they came back, one of them said something that kind of reaffirmed.
Wait a minute, you have kids in college?
I know, I thought the same thing. I was like, damn.
My oldest is getting ready to
You're old
graduate.
as hell.
I am older, ma'am. I am not old as hell. I'm older. Don't do that.
Look, Kilo, I didn't know you had kids that went to college.
Well, black don't crack.
It don't.
Yeah, it is.
Unless you smoke it. But my oldest is getting ready to graduate, and she's getting ready to go to law school. She's getting ready to graduate college and go start law school. So kudos, because I have kids that are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I did turn it around. I was a knucklehead. I maybe lose my point now, but okay, that's what I was saying. So she went to college, and then she came back home, and she said, "Daddy, you will be surprised how many girls told me that they would go to these things and something happened to them, somebody touched them, something happened to them." She was saying 4 out of 5 type of deal, right? And I was like, yes, baby, that unfortunately that's one of the things that we were trying to protect you from. right? And so it reaffirmed in us that we were doing the right thing as parents, and maybe for her, if she decides to have kids and that type of thing later on, that this was the right thing right there. So
Yeah. Which sucks though too. Because like I remember being able to sleep over, at friends' houses. But when I think about letting my daughter sleep over at people's house, oh, no.
Yeah,
Like we're
nah,
not.
I ain't with it.
We're
I
not.
Yeah.
it wasn't even a rule for me growing up. I just never wanted to be at anyone else's house. But just now, as a parent, we don't go for that. But something Terry said, which was super interesting to me about the kid that was walking through, and this is what I was saying earlier. That's me and my wife. I'm the guy who's like, let them go. Like I'm super chill. Like whatever, they'll be fine. And she's like, nah, we're not having it. But I feel like kind of the balance is necessary because you don't want to be too free, but you don't want to be too rigid as well. So it helps out. It
Hard
helps to have
though.
two people, huh?
It's hard to know like where the balance is. Like,
Oh,
well,
we don't. Yeah, we
yeah,
don't know.
we don't. But and also too, like me and my husband were like, I am the they'll be all right, and my husband is more of like the like no, like come back. Um, they're running up and down aisles and shit at Walmart. I'm like, they'll circle back around, like, whatever. But for me, it's like mostly I'm trying to regulate myself in that moment on top of regulating the other small humans that I'm responsible for. But I just think that if I also think that all of the insecure attachments are because there's a lack of let them be.
mm,
Like
That
from
goes back to what I
no,
said earlier. I feel like I'm pretty secure, but I
yeah,
was free. I was free as can be.
yeah, and to
Yeah.
be like, yeah, I didn't have any restrictions. I just don't want to be in anybody's house.
Yeah, I never
That's
needed
real.
stupid shit. Like I didn't have a lot of restrictions, but I was at home. I didn't need to do anything because I could do
But that's
whatever I
real.
wanted.
You had the
Yeah.
option to do that. Like I feel like I slept over at people's houses because I felt pressure to like have friends.
mm,
But like
Mm.
again, anxious attachment. But
mm,
it's it's interesting to watch like me raise my kids versus my two of my aunts are only like 10 years and 12 years apart from me. So like we're pretty close in age and we have kids that are the same age. And so it's interesting to see them parent in that generation, but also me parent in my generation with the same age kids. Like it's very different.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just I don't know. I think like Terry, like going back to like your daughter, like it's not a reality for her because it didn't have to be because her parents understood. Whereas like other people were like, yeah, go ahead, very trusting, over trusting. Like, yeah,
That's a problem
go
too.
sleep over at
Trusting
their
other
house.
people with your kids. Trusting other people with your kids is definitely a problem. You should I
Probably
don't know.
vet them a
You
little.
don't know how other people are moving. So it's like you really got to look after your own because you don't know what other people are capable of.
The messed up part is most of that stuff happens to people they know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
again, you don't know what other people are
Right.
capable of.
That's what I'm saying. Like it
You
be
know,
happening to, like you really have to be careful for real. But like
they would never, they would never do something like that.
That's like that's when they have their guard down. But I was going to ask you, Jonathan, do you have brothers and sisters?
Only child.
And that again, that's I think that's something that plays into our attachment
I feel like I
is
don't know y'all.
where you're at on the hierarchy of
Oh, he was about to give me some fire. He was about
He
to give me some.
was.
I was listening. I'm tuned in.
That is
Wait, did
different.
he go out? Can y'all hear me?
No, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
No,
What
I
happened?
attribute a lot to not having siblings. A lot of my personality to that. I think it really shapes me. And I feel like whenever someone who's talking or I talk to a person that's the only child, like it's a certain level of understanding that other people won't get because it's just our experiences are totally different.
I agree with that. I mean, I'm not the only child, but I'm the youngest, and we're all 6 years apart, so it was kind of like being the only child. So
How many siblings do you have?
there, well, two.
Mm.
You know what y'all said earlier too. I was thinking about just like as Black people, we really don't get the opportunity to be free. Like just it kind of come back around when I'm thinking about parenting and how we have to be like not hard on our kids, but we have to like educate and show them. It's like some kids,
Hmm.
I see other kids, they can be free, they can do that, and it's okay, and it's encouraged. But like we don't really get that opportunity, and it kind of sucks a little bit.
We're not awarded that privilege, is what it is.
Yeah.
Like those kids can go wild out and do
Um,
crazy
Do
stuff
whatever.
and be fine. But the minute we do something quote unquote crazy, we're, we ain't got no home training. We,
Yep.
blah, blah, blah. Terry, listen, bro,
Just
you're
come
about
on,
to
man.
Listen,
out.
hey, she didn't let me in. She right there in the corner. She didn't let me in.
Terry, I'm tuned in. You was about to drop some wisdom, man.
He was.
The devil
How
does
I get
something, man.
blamed?
She didn't let me in the
Yeah, he
group.
was. That was not me.
All right, I apologize for
That
my
was not my
technology.
fault.
I apologize for my technology. I think I was saying something about me being the oldest in my family. I think that's where I left out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were.
But the hierarchy of where you fall within your siblings, me being the oldest, I kind of had free reign too. But on my dad's side, I was just one of many, right? So you kind of fall, especially with males, we seem to fall into these hierarchy positions. You know, you leave us in a room, we're trying to figure out what status is. You leave the women in a room, they're making friends and having tea parties and they're working on relational stuff. So I think that has a
True.
big tie into how we form our attachment style is where we fall in the family system.
Dang. For real.
Wait, so what do you
Absolutely. I agree.
you have siblings? Where do you fall in this whole thing?
Yeah, well, technically I have 22 siblings.
Oh my God.
How many do you count though? Like that you like grew up with?
Technically, I
I know
count all of them.
you count all of them, but like which ones grew
So
up in
the
the
ones
same
I
house?
grew up with, there's 5 of us, and
Okay,
I'm 2.
okay.
But it's
Okay.
a different dynamic because of how we are. So like I was an only child for, I don't know, like 5 years or something like that, 6 years, and then my mom married. He had 2 kids, so they joined. So then I became the middle child, and then they had a child together, and then they got divorced, and then my mom had another kid. So we range. I'm 14 years older than the youngest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm,
She's like my kid.
that's a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty big jump. And there is like when you have that big of a range, because my oldest brother is 12 years, and so almost, well, I would dare to say a generational gap there.
Absolutely.
And so like that relationship is different within itself because depending on who they are, and I would even say sex too, how Terry was saying, like there's a difference there because um I'm the only girl. And so it's almost like a father figure for
Yep.
really because he's 12. So it's like I have to make sure that she's good. I have to make sure that she's on the right track relationship rather than a sibling relationship.
Yeah.
And so that's interesting as well when it comes to like different attachments too.
Yeah. I
I want to
agree.
ask Terry. Terry, so how with the sibling hierarchy, how does that connect into like dating or like when you're an adult? You have any idea how that would like? I'm just thinking how we're all different. So how would that
Yeah.
connect to like our dating?
I think there's several layers to it though, you know what I mean? Because like I'm the oldest in my family and me and you kind of share that we feel like we did have some reign in certain spaces, right? But when I went back into my home environment, there were expectations that were placed on me, right? And if I went over to my dad's, then you know, all the kids and my grandmas, my aunts and uncles, I'm just one of many. I'm not even the oldest anymore. So, you know, obviously if I'm the oldest in my family, I'm gonna get most of the attention. I'm gonna get love. I'm probably gonna have some type of secure attachment, right? Versus if I'm the last one of 22nd children, you know, some of these larger families, I'm probably not gonna get that much,
Yeah.
right? I think about like my daughter, the youngest. She's 10. She's so intelligent, and she says some stuff. Sometimes I'm like, where you hear that from? I wasn't even thinking like that when I was 10, right? But she's had the privilege of being able to observe her siblings
Yep.
in environments where she saw people get in trouble for stuff that she's been able to assess. Do I really want to do that now, right?
Yep.
So I think it's most
Hmm.
on how that shows up for attachments, because now she's getting kisses and hugs and things, but she's also getting a version of me that maybe the older children didn't get,
Yep.
right? Because I didn't have my
True.
first child till I was 2021, um, and I thought I was pretty mature, but there's obviously I'm not as mature. I wasn't mature then as I am now, and I
Right.
had to learn, grow, and the kids who are growing with their parents, are getting a different version of them versus one. Let's just say older parents are having kids now. They're getting that kid is getting a much different version of them, a more secure attachment than the siblings would. So I imagine there's so many different layers to it.
That
Right.
is so true. That is so, and I tell people that
Hmm.
all the time. I had my oldest in the house is 10, and I had her when I was 26. Having a child at 34, totally different. My patience is totally different. My like self-awareness is totally different. My own attachment style is healed, and definitely more secure. And so I know, like, being a 26-year-old mom, like, yes, I love all of my kids, but I do know that I was not the same mom 10 years ago that I am now, or 8 years ago, when my daughter was 2 versus my youngest daughter is 2 now. So,
Hmm.
like, that type of relationship, and my mom was just here, and I was telling her that my youngest reminds me of my youngest sister, and my
Mm.
mom was like, "Yeah, she even acts like her, like, she's real clingy to you," like, like, my youngest sister and my mom have a totally different relationship than me and my mom do because my mom had me when she was 21. And so, like, they have a totally different relationship, but it does matter. Like, that attachment does show up in how you rank in the hierarchy of siblings, or if you don't, like Jonathan, you got all of whatever the attention was, whether it's good or bad, right, for anybody who's an only child, but, like, you get all of that centralized into one person, which could probably also be, like, overwhelming, but, like, every we were split into fifths, so I got, like, a fifth of the attention. Not
Yeah.
really, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is interesting to think about, like, a hierarchy of siblings. And my husband's only one
Oh,
of 2, and one he didn't grow up with, but he's or one of 3 rather. One he didn't grow up with, so it's just him and his sister, and he's the oldest. Now I'm gonna have to ask him all these questions when I see him later.
See what you undid, Jonathan?
hmm No, a couple of things that like really stood up. Like Terry, when you said that, so I talked about like 29 earlier, like being an adult. My first child I had at 21. I was living with my mom, right? My last child I had at 29, my own home, career, all of those things. And I literally had this conversation the other day. Like it is a complete different parenting. Like my relationship with the youngest one is totally different. But I was like, damn, I ain't know none of this when mom was
Yes!
little. Like I didn't know to do this. Like I learned it from the kid, and I'm like,
Yes.
she got cheated. Like I feel like she got cheated.
Hey, you
Like
know what? The kids will say that too. You
yeah,
didn't do
like
that. You didn't do that with me.
you can do
Oh,
that.
I still say that to my mom about my youngest sibling. You would have never let me do that.
But you don't realize that the parent is also growing as well. Like you
Yes.
Yeah.
know, as a kid, you don't realize that. Like the parent is growing. The parent did not know. They didn't know this was the best way to go. So I don't know. It's
Mhm.
all interesting, and I just think it's interesting how it probably ties into like choosing partners and every sense of life when you grow up.
So, so that's a great segue into one of the questions that she had on there, which is what survival-based messages about love did you internalize?
Oh, damn. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know if I like that question.
Yeah, I don't know. I got these questions makes you really got to think.
Well, I was just thinking there were some that came up that we already talked about, right? So I think about our parents' generation. They had some messaging like children should be seen and not heard,
Yep.
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Right. But I was thinking about how that affects us, right? So I think that
Whoa.
teaches emotional
I'm
suppression.
big. Like,
Your skin looks immaculate.
sorry, I had to switch devices.
No, you're good.
Technology
Man, we're
just
making it happen.
on us today, ain't it?
So, okay.
Technology just.
All right, John or Terry, go ahead.
No, I think I was just talking about how one of the ones we all kind of heard was children should be seen and not heard. But then I was thinking about how that kind of affected us, right? That really kind of teaches emotional suppression.
Yeah.
Mm.
That can like really foster like some avoidant type of distancing.
You know what? You know what else is kind of crazy though is I think I shared this last time. My mom's white, and I grew up around like all white people my whole life. My dad's side of the family lived in Michigan, and I'm from Wisconsin, and so like I remember, and I still have like a visceral reaction to this. Like when I think about it, I remember when my mom, because my mom always hung out around like black folks. And so when we used to go over to somebody's house, it was literally like we left my grandparents' house, like this white culture, area to this black culture area. It was like night and day. And so what I could do at my grandparents' house, I couldn't do at my mom's friend's house. Like, get out of here. This is grown folks area.
Mm,
That didn't exist in my white household.
yeah.
And so it was like I felt like I was being suppressed in the black household wherever we were. Like I
Mm,
couldn't be by my mom, but that was my secure attachment, my mom. That's
mm,
all I ever had, her and my grandparents. And so I didn't like that. I couldn't be free in that way. And
mm.
so for me, like that made me internalize like kind of like a racial thing for me.
So
Like I'm
separate identity, huh?
safe and loved here, but I am going to be safe and loved here. It
Mm.
feels like a safety and love, like emotional safety and love connection for me.
So I want you to stay right there because I do. There's another one that I want to get your take on, and it's. I think most of us have heard this one. We don't talk about family business. What goes on in this
Yeah,
house stays on in this house.
I tell
So
Oh, that's a good one.
so
them mind
knowing
your
that
own
you
business.
that you navigate two separate, the white identity and then in this black space, how did that show up for you?
So it wasn't that it was different. Oh, gee.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there you go. I see you.
It
There we
wasn't
go.
that it was I think it was navigated differently.
Mm,
So like in my white household, I learned a lot about my family when I became an adult. So like things about family members who had passed on that I knew nothing about. because to me, they were, that person, like my great grandfather. But then I learned really horrible things about him after he passed away.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something that was like verbalized, it was just swept under the rug and never talked about. Whereas in Black families, if you bring it up, then you're specifically told, like, we don't talk about that. Like, you're immediately shut down. Whereas if I asked a question on my white side, it was met more with like, that's just not an appropriate conversation to have
Mm.
until you're older or like whatever. It wasn't like an immediate shutdown. It was like a different version of, we don't talk about, that kind of stuff.
Man, that's powerful. For
That's
me,
interesting. Because I'm curious. Sorry, Terry. I'm curious which one is better, though, knowing that this is not a conversation that we'll talk about ever, or ask me again in 15 years when you're old enough that I feel comfortable, answering it for you.
I think it's like, I don't know that one's better. I think one's like more, like not human, like more emotionally intelligent, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
finding out that, there was sexual assault by somebody you never would have thought would have done that.
Mm.
Like, of course you don't say that to a 10-year-old.
Right.
How did you grow up? And then, well, pretty shitty because, blah, blah, blah. But it's just like hey, when you're older, maybe we'll talk about this, but just not right now. Whereas we're in Black culture, it's more so like we just don't talk about it. It's emotionally stunting. And we need to stop doing that, because then it just wraps back around to negative and insecure attachments.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
how are you going to have people, if you're not allowing kids to process things on their own to an extent, or come to a conclusion on their own, how do you expect them to do that as adults?
I
For
think one of
sure.
them is that the adults don't have the tools themselves to manage
They
it.
don't.
So when the kids are managing it, it feels like a threat when they bring it to them. Right. And I think that you had some powerful points, but I think that secrecy, like, it normalizes avoidance of vulnerability. Right.
Yes.
And so what does that vulnerability feel like if the parent is not comfortable in their own skin to be vulnerable? And then here the kid comes with all this information, wanting to know these answers, and they haven't processed themselves. The quickest way to shut that down is to shut it down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is then it makes the kid feel like there's something wrong with them when they bring that, right? So they're less likely to bring that up. I wanted to throw one at Jonathan, though, because because we're both men and we probably have both heard this one before, right? So show strength, not weakness.
Mm.
And that one really rewards performance over vulnerability, right? It really discourages authentic connection in men. And I know you might probably have your experience about that. So I wanted to throw that one at you and see what your thoughts were on that one.
Again, I guess I was as we talk. I'm like, man, I must have been raised different. So, because even in my household, I think it was too much cross generational conversation. I feel like if you ask the question, they gonna tell you, "Oh, you know that nigga ain't shit. He did like they gonna give you the whole information that you might be 12 years old. He like, damn, Uncle so and so. You know. I think it is talked about to an extent, but to go into you said strength is
Yeah,
more
show
valuable
strength,
than
not
weakness.
weakness.
I
Yeah,
think for me it wasn't a big thing. I didn't have any men around pretty much. Like I was a single mom, like stuff like that. So it wasn't I didn't get that rah rah. Like I had my grandfather, but he was older and that wasn't really a message for me. So I never really dealt with that.
Mm, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
I never dealt.
But I think that also plays into toxic masculinity. Like,
I think
I see it in people now.
be a man.
I'm careful with that one though, because I think that one gets generalized so much though that it really does. I think it puts men in a weird space
Hmm.
when we hear that a lot, right? So I think there's our toxic traits from masculine people, but I think to mask toxic masculinity in itself really does do a disservice to men who are holding spaces like they should.
Do you think
I agree with
there's a
you.
difference between masculinity and masculine people,
Mm.
though?
I think masculinity can be a trait that can be shared by different genders, but I think that especially for men, I think we do a disservice, and we've had disservices done to us for so long that we struggle with the identity of who we are.
Yes, I agree.
Then when we get into spaces where we get married, or we get into spaces where we're one of many, we really do struggle if we're not being reaffirmed about what we think their identity should be.
Right.
But most of the men that I have some issues sometimes identifying what makes them happy. Who am I outside of the roles that I play as a father, a husband, as a whatever, right? As a board member, director, whatever. We often, especially men, often identify ourselves by the positions in which we hold and the accolades in which we achieve. And that really does diminish who we are as individuals. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And
It
so
does.
now I want to know, like, because you had posed the question to Jonathan, and I'm wondering, like, what was your experience growing up with, like, essentially, like, logic is better than emotion as a man?
That's
Let
true.
me ask this real quick before you answer that. Did you have like a father around?
When I was younger, my dad was in prison. As I got a little bit older, he was out, and I was able to be exposed to him. I also had a stepfather in the home, but we didn't have a relationship, which is really interesting. Um, so so although he provided financially and took care of the family, and I wasn't neglected in the financial sense, and I wasn't raised like that. We just didn't have a connection or a bond where there were things that were um, delegated to me. There wasn't masculine things that were shown to me on how to conduct myself as a man. And so I had different individuals I would pull things from. I had an uncle, but when he was younger, he was gangbanging, right? And so I had men on my dad's side, but some of them are selling drugs, some of them are pushing, some of them are stand up, right? So I had to kind of figure out what is this roadmap to masculinity that fits me. And sometimes in the process of trying to figure those things out, I just became kind of a chameleon, where I would be really strong in this space because I had to perform in this space to fit in and belong. But then over here, I was being more of a genuine person because that's what allowed me to feel safe. And so I don't think there's a flat answer for that question. I think there's a lot of men that I do talk to that kind of struggle with some of the same things that I have growing up. There's not a blueprint handed to us, right? And if we're talking about our ethnicity, especially black men, there's some things that are uniquely, specifically subscribed to us that other ethnicities don't have to deal with.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And you can hear it. But don't get me to ranting. I go on.
No, it's good. I think a lot of people, we don't get to hear a lot from black men in this space. We really don't.
But I think there are men. I think that we lack the language to share the frustration that we hear, because I didn't always have the language and the verbiage to be able to share what I was feeling. Just like I explained to some of my clients, a baby cries because the baby doesn't have the language to say, "Hey, I'm wet. I've been sitting in this diaper too long," right?
That'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
Family Guy.
You leave shit in your house.
But I
So,
think it's the same. I think you're dealing with people, and this is not just exclusive to men, but you're dealing with people who lack the verbiage and articulation to share that I don't know how to be vulnerable with you because I've never seen it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm never, and in the process, because I've suppressed it for so long, I'm angry.
Yes.
I'm
So
angry.
is
Mhm.
is that now toxic masculinity when you suppress it and that comes out
Technically,
in an aggressive form?
But what you know is that we all suppress stuff, right?
Yeah,
The
I think
example,
that's a toxicity of it. But I
yeah.
think like when I think of toxic masculinity, I think like I'm the man, you do what I say. Like kind of like that, like the men in the relationship is the end all be all. And like
Mhm.
woman doesn't have a say or like, you know, kind of clinging to that traditionalist mindset of relationships when really in reality like it's 100 like nobody should be over, there has to be expectations in a reality. Like if we want to be more of a traditionalist mindset couple, what does that actually mean? Like where am I as a woman comfortable following you, as a leader, and then as a man, where are you comfortable following me? Because
Mhm.
I know things too. And I'm, ready to lead in certain aspects as well. But I think that toxicity comes in from, and it's not because of, again, it's not because of males as innate beings, it's because of the masculinity that has caused the toxicity through society, right?
Yeah.
It's separating the human from the actual term. Like, I don't have a problem with men at all, but I have a problem with toxic masculinity when it shows up because
Mhm.
who the fuck are you talking to like that?
Mhm.
You know,
So
Mhm.
And
that's just toxicity in general, though, right? It's not like
right.
a masculine thing, I guess. It's just toxicity in general. And so what I guess what makes it masculine
Because of
toxicity?
society.
so you
Okay.
labeling it.
Because of society, like how society raises men versus women,
Mhm.
right? Like, what's the expectation of a girl versus a boy?
So
Like,
let me ask you
boys
this:
don't cry.
can women have toxic masculine traits?
Yes,
Absolutely.
I'm about to say for sure.
yes,
For
absolutely.
sure.
So is that toxic masculinity?
That's just
Yes,
toxicity.
because of
Yeah.
what it's rooted
No.
in. It's still rooted in the same thing. So,
Mhm.
like, women are like, for some women who hold toxic masculinity, they're essentially suppressing themselves through this weird, you know, learned behavior or thought process that she's not, enough, or, she needs to be stronger than she needs to be. But really and truly, it's just anger coming from a place that society tells us is okay to bring it from. But like that toxicity is the key part. It's like the masculinity comes in from societal expectations where the toxicity can live anywhere.
That comes from the
Yeah.
attachments. If
I
we
think it's
tie it to what we're
that's
talking about.
Absolutely. But we
patriarchal.
see it.
Yeah, it's the patriarch
Absolutely.
essentially.
And we see it every day. Like when you even go on social media and you see the conversations about gender roles and things like that, right? It comes out a lot when it comes to, oh no, a man's supposed to do X, Y, and Z, right? And there's no other way that you're supposed to see that. I think that how those conversations are had is very much toxic masculinity
Mhm.
from
Hold on, I got
a
something
woman
on that
portraying
then.
that.
I want to throw something out there. I mean, we've have you guys seen Woman King?
I
Yes.
have.
Hmm.
Okay, and I think that obviously I think how we view this is obviously through Western civilization and through our cultural means. But when you look at how they conducted themselves, if we didn't have a label to slap on it, we would be seeing a lot of the same type of things
Yes.
we're trying to articulate now. And I think that it's the verbiage. I feel like a lot of men feel like they're attacked though because they don't feel like they're able to really evolve outside of the labels that are being placed on them when they show certain qualities. And I think there's unhealed qualities, but there's still qualities that they are showing that are being labeled. And I think that's where the disconnect,
Absolutely.
that's
I
the disconnect
agree.
comes in.
But I also too think that that is almost synonymous to home colored people being called racist. Like, you are racist though, innately, because of the society we are raised and reared through.
Hmm.
You just got to eat that and then figure out, how do I anti that, right? Like, how do I make it so that it's a more balanced thing? Like, from a toxic masculinity standpoint, like, how do I ensure that I am okay with how I am emoting or not emoting, and being
Mhm.
understood or not being understood based on how I'm feeling and how I'm reacting. So, like, for me, it's a combination of societal underpinnings and what am I taking, plus who am I as a person and how do those match or not match? Because I don't believe anybody is born that way. You're reared that way. You're understood that way or misunderstood that way. And unless you have the language to fix that or change it, then you're already pre-labeled, and it's hard to come back from that if you can't say, like, no, that's not how I am, or that's not who I want to be. Now you've now taken that label and made it part of you instead of rejecting it and making it so, like, you are the person you were meant to be. But I think that's a really hard thing for people to do, is separate, like, the language from the person. It's kind of like how we went from saying, like, homeless people to unhoused, right?
Why
Like,
why is that?
because they're not homeless. Like, you're labeling somebody as they are a human rather than what's in afflicting them.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
you're speaking to a position versus their whatever their ailment is.
Gotcha. I just never understood that.
Yeah, it's the same with, like, somebody is not autistic, they have autism.
Yes, got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand that. Now it connects. Okay.
So I have my second oldest daughter. So she moved back in, and so I would call her homeless, and so now I would just call her unhoused.
Yep.
Unhoused.
You are unhoused, ma'am. Don't talk to me like that. You're unhoused.
There it is.
I mean, technically, she is unhoused,
That's
unless her stuff came up on your deed.
awesome, man. I feel like we got some good dialogue today.
We did.
I got a whole bunch
Absolutely.
more. I just know we don't have time.
But I do have one last question,
No,
because I feel like we can't wrap this conversation up without giving a resolve. So, how do we move towards repairing these ideas, the unsecure? I'm not going to go through all the different attachments, the feelings of being unloved in those ways, the toxicity, and all of that. What do we do to repair that? I
there.
mean,
Nah, be so.
for sure. I agree. I think being open to talking to someone else too, right? Because when we're talking about cultural setbacks, that's definitely one of them, is not letting strangers in your business and things like that. So going to therapy is huge.
I got a
Stop
couple.
being weird about feelings. Feelings aren't weird.
That's actually one of the ones that I had was validate the feelings and collaborate on solutions, because I think if we're honest, dysfunction and trauma doesn't even show up until the person is safe.
Yes.
So until you can actually create an environment where people are safe or they feel safe, you're never going to really deal with the real root causes of what the issues are, right? So safety is everything.
Very.
That's what everybody is seeking. Subconsciously, we're always seeking some type of safety,
Yes.
right? So
If I was there, I would throw a shoe at you.
Now,
Why have you-
wait, time out. Wait. Why is that the go-to when like you say something? I'm gonna throw a shoe. Why isn't it like I'm
Yeah, like that was good. Like I'm gonna throw a shoe. You ain't never seen nobody throw a shoe something when they be
I've
singing.
never heard that.
They be like taking the shoe off and throw like, "Go, yeah!" You ain't never seen that before?
I've never
I don't
seen
want
that.
to.
Oh, you
Don't throw a shoe at me if you like what I'm saying. I don't want to throw it.
I was doing good. She hit me with a shoe.
Is that a black thing? Maybe I don't know.
No.
You need to look up when we get off of here. You need to Google Jennifer Hudson throws shoe on The Voice.
Hmm.
I can see it now that you're saying that, but George Bush got a cruise show at him too.
Well, that was probably different.
All right.
So I got two more.
Go.
For the anxious, preoccupied, a soothing presence.
Ooh.
Clear
Okay.
assurance. It kind of goes back to safety, right? Predictable check-ins.
Yep.
Predictable check-ins. I had when I was in that space at one point in time. For me, it was just check-ins. And what does that look like? I mean, it could look like me and my wife having, just that 30-minute check-in on Sundays, just talking about, hey, are you getting what you needed? Did you get what you needed this week? And then her asking me that. And I think, because we do family meetings at my house, and I think when we do them, I find that the week goes so much smoother.
Yep.
Because everybody knows what the expectation is that week.
Yep.
On Wednesday, we ain't cooking, so y'all better figure out what y'all gonna cook, or you can go get you some sandwiches or something. But nobody's surprised about what happens in that period of time, right?
You make the 10-year-old girl her own sandwich?
No, the older siblings is gonna make sure that she's taken care of.
That's real.
So yeah.
Let me borrow one.
Yeah. So don't do me about my 10-year-old though. God. All right. So the other one was
my 10-year-old make your own sandwich.
Yeah. Nah, that's my baby. Shoot, daddy'll come home and make a sandwich if I had to. But that's daddy. I'm kind of soft there. Dismissive avoidance. Respect autonomy.
Yes. What does autonomy mean, Terry?
I think we have to give good language to autonomy. Autonomy is being able to have good understanding of who you are in a safe space and feel free of the labels and things that other people try to put on you, but you're operating within your own autonomy. Jonathan talked about earlier about how he felt free to do what he wanted. He had great autonomy.
Yep.
From an early age.
And autonomy is respecting other people's ability to be who they want to be within their space too, right? The infringement of other people telling you what you need to do, right? So respecting autonomy. And I think that's easy to do if you're not married. I think it's hard to do if you are married because you feel like you're locked into a space together. And I think that requires better understanding. But invite
on the individuality. Like just because we're married doesn't mean we're one. We are still very different people.
Yeah.
So the autonomy still has to be there. Like allowing somebody to be them is autonomous. Like you being alone and you being within you is autonomy.
Yeah, and with that, avoid shaming withdrawal, because sometimes, like again, you talked about pathologizing everything. Sometimes I just need a break.
That part.
Sometimes I had a hard time at work or some stuff happened. I don't have time to explain to you why I'm staying in the car extra 5 minutes or 10, right? And so avoiding shaming the withdrawal part, because I think that, especially in this professional space, we want to pathologize everything. No, I just need a little break. I mean, it's just
a processing moment, like being able to like soak in your day and just let it all go, what you need to let go. Sometimes that looks like doom scrolling for me on TikTok, but it's like, I just need a mindless moment. Like I don't want to have to think right now. I don't want to have to feel, all of the feelings right now. I just want to be. And so that's where my processing comes in. I just need a minute.
Yeah. And then the last one I had was the fearful, avoidant, disorganized that she talked about before. Again, I hate to beat a dead horse on this, but the prioritizing safety,
Yeah.
Mhm.
prioritizing safety.
It makes sense, man. Like it
But
makes a lot of sense, right?
That's what attachment is. It's safety.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
just have to figure out, like, through the attachment styles, what type of safety you're needing.
yeah,
Right? Like, so based on the disorganized, that means you're kind of all over the place with your attachment. And so you need to hone in on what is it that you need to feel secure in order to get closer to the secure attachment. But if
Yeah.
you're just anxious attached, maybe you need to figure out how to go from 10 to 7, because at 7 you can think better, and then that brings you back down to 3 or 4, because most of us who have anxiety, that's just our baseline. But like, it's just knowing what you need
yeah.
for the safety.
And you just said it. Slow pacing.
Yes.
Slowing down. That's a saying. Sometimes you have to slow down in order to speed up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to slow down, especially anxious people. When they actually slow down, they're able to process right. And then
Yes. Also,
what's
I
that?
don't know if people have this or are familiar with this book.
The Power of Attachment.
Attachment.
The Power
There
of
we go.
Attachment.
Who's the author?
Diane Poole Heller.
Okay.
Dr. Heller, Poole Heller. But this is a really, really, really good book. I use this with clients a lot. But it's a really good book because a lot of the times people want the books that therapists use. Like,
Yeah.
don't read the Body Keeps the Score. You'll get real overwhelmed. Unless you have like a therapy psychology background, that's a lot of like this.
I
This
Yeah.
is like the bomb. It has it takes you through every single attachment. It gives examples. It shares, different things. There's exercises in here that I really like.
Oh,
And
wow.
then afterwards, after every chapter, she gives discussion questions. And so that's really nice. So like secure attachment at the end of it has, or avoidant, questions to assess for avoidant attachment. Are close relationships difficult for you? Does
Yeah.
closeness cause you to create distance afterwards? Do you find it difficult to relax with your partner in your intimate relationships? So, like, there's just a lot of different questions to help people be able to identify which attachment they have, which type they have. But then the best part of this book is that after she explains them all, she goes into like attachment styles and romantic partnerships. So she actually goes deeper into like how these show up in relationships and how to kind of decrease any negative symptomology around them. But this is a really, really good book, and I'm almost positive this has a workbook, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
But also boundaries. That was one thing that I really wanted to mention was your attachment is also directly related to your boundaries. What boundaries do you have and what boundaries don't you have?
Or lack thereof.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Dr. T has a boundaries journal to help you figure that out.
You do?
I do.
Well, can you send it to me?
I can.
There's also the
You gonna send it to her, not send it to us.
this book.
Yeah.
That has a workbook too. I have the workbook for that one, but by Dr. T's though.
You put it up there.
Yeah, that's a fact, right?
Huh?
I let people know. That's a fact. By hers, I don't know.
Look.
I don't know how you send it out. You need to send the link.
Yeah. You need to put it under the each of my Facebook live and your Facebook live, and if anybody else's Facebook live.
Oh, there it is.
Whoa!
Oh, wow. Right on time. There it is.
That's crazy.
Love it. Love it.
Oh, it light up.
That's crazy.
That was pretty cool.
Somebody scanned the QR code.
I love Etsy.
Oh, okay, hold on. Every time it's scanned it light up? No. Oh yeah, it does. Okay.
Now, if you want a physical version of it, there is a link in my link tree.
Dope stuff. So Essie,
I want to be cool and have a link tree. I don't have anything to sell though, so
you will.
Everything's for
You
sale.
need to work on it.
someday when I have time between chasing my half naked child around and
Yeah, no.
running a practice.
Superwoman over there.
Not all weird heroes wear a cape, Terry.
Sure.
So,
This is cool. I'm just watching this stuff here. I'm like, yo, this is
I know, like, dang, how do you do all that?
Yeah, I'm like, this is fine.
Again, not that I need it at the moment, but
Real quick. I know we're probably about to go, but I was like, y'all talking, so I'm listening. And it's like that safety thing kept coming back, and I'm just like, okay, wow, like I felt free. I'm just kind of going back throughout my life, right, and just like I'm thinking I'm pretty secure. But I was like, I always was safe. I was always safe, and that's something that just stood out to me. Like my mom was always there. It was always I never felt just uncertain. It was always safe. So I think that does play a huge role.
interesting.
absolutely.
I want to ask you a question, but we don't have time because I feel like you would be like, dang, or like we wouldn't have time to talk about
What
it.
is it? I'll short answer it.
So your mom was always there, but what about your dad?
Oh no, it's just so because it wasn't there. It's I didn't notice. I didn't know people had dads when I was little. I didn't even know there was a. So it was
Dang,
like, yeah, I
Jonathan!
didn't even know that was a thing.
6-year-old Jonathan lived under a rock.
Yeah, and at like 6, I didn't. I thought it was normal. So you go to school and like kids are like,
Yeah.
yo, you kind of figure like, oh shoot, your mom and dad live together and stuff. So I think that as I got older, yes, I started to see, and then it was like, oh shit, this isn't normal.
Did that ever make you feel any type of way? Like because you didn't have a dad present that your attachment was messed up because of it?
Not as a child, I would say more so as an adult, it kind of catches up to you. Yeah. Not as a child though. As a child,
Yeah.
it was all good, but as an adult, it was like, wait a minute.
I
It's
had
like,
the
what's this?
opposite. I think
Maybe
as
was talking about
as
attachment shacked up.
Huh?
Can't be 7 years old talking about my attachment is
my
jacked up.
attachment is messed
Well, no,
up.
but when I said like I didn't even notice it was an issue. Like I don't feel like I ever felt feelings about it until I
Yeah.
was an adult. Like I
Yeah.
never knew that this was like not normal. It never was a thing till I was grown. Probably when I had kids, honestly.
For real.
Was when you recognize like, wait a minute, I missed a whole half of something. Like I missed a whole me in my life. So that's when that's when I
Yeah,
realized
I
it.
think kids make it, instead of looking at things linear, they really give you an aerial view.
hmm
Yeah.
You have kids and you see things like, man, is this how I was when I was? And then you get the professional education, and that really just kind of blows our mind.
Yeah. So that like adulthood tied it all together for me and just the understanding of that whole dynamic. So I don't know. Maybe it's not secure then. If now that we now that we unroll it.
That's part two.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
I think two things can be true at the same time, though. I think that you can be secure in your attachment with just the love of your mom and your grandma, and still not know the existence of a father.
Yep. That's how I
Yeah.
felt.
I never had anything to miss. I talked to people who of divorce and things like that. I never had anything to miss because I didn't know it was there. So it was real simple. I think when I'm talking to people whose parents got divorced, I notice a difference in that.
I wonder too though how that has to do with like people pleasing like traits because I was a huge people pleaser. I mean, I still am to an extent. So like for me, it wasn't necessarily that I felt um like what's the word? Like less than because I didn't have a dad around. It was how other people perceived me because I didn't have a dad around. And so I kind of like took on their bias against me and my family, but I don't think, like you said, like had I thought about it this way, like I'm not missing anything because I can't miss what I didn't have. But
Yeah.
from like seeing other people interact with their dads, I was like, oh dang, is that what that's supposed to be like?
Nobody had a biological father when
Yeah,
growing up. Some people had stepdads, but not nobody. I don't know anybody.
Almost every single one of my friends in high school had a dad.
Hmm.
Oh,
And I was like the weird one that didn't. But I had my
They had
grandfather,
stepdads.
so like I knew
I had my grandfather as well,
Yeah.
so he definitely was a big influence.
mine
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I had time to think about none of that.
Yeah.
She said she was about to open up something, and I should have known, but I was like, go for it anyway.
Yeah, I'll just short answer it real quick.
Yeah, 15 minutes later.
My bad.
Right. Now Jonathan's about to get off and be like, damn, I need to go journal.
All right. So with that, we will end our monthly segment. You guys, basically at the end of the day, you are in control of loving yourself, to love others. You're able to rebuild the attachment that you feel like you deserve, which should be secure. And we will see y'all next month. Bye, you
All right.
guys.
Bye.